are just tuning in, we literally just got notes for update 4.1 highlights. So let's chat about it. It's been long since our last highlights were released, but we have another update coming hot on the heels of 4.0, and it brings exciting additions to existing features, such as Doom Tower. We have 2 new bosses, rebalance rooms, and new artifact sets. New champions, expect details in the news coming up, and some improvements for clan search and applications. So now we have a Doom Tower update. The Doom Tower is one of Raid's largest and most varied game modes, but what we've seen so far is only the beginning of what we have planned. As it stands, we want to add 2 new rotations to the Doom Tower, each with new challenges. What you will see in 4.1 is the first of these. It's gonna be 2 new bosses, 2 new artifact sets to craft in the forge, some rebalanced floors, and new secret room requirements. Some of the old bosses return as well, but with a different affinity, so be ready to adjust your tactics. So here's the first one, is Grythion the Celestial Griffin. And we actually have, here's his character model. Does he look great? I love the character model for Grythion. Looks amazing. So this is a boss. All affinities, as you see, because it's Doom Tower, right? And faction says creatures of the Doom floor. Why does it say he has 4 affinities? Not sure. That's kind of new, huh? Looks like a WoW mount. He kind of does. Is he tameable? Oh my gosh. I can always tell my people that have played WoW with me. All right, so let's go through his abilities. First is Shockwave. Attacks an enemy and a 100% chance of placing a fear. 100% chance of placing fear. Rock Smash. Transfers all debuffs to each enemy, then attacks them and fills the turn meter by 5% for each. Death Gust. Removes all buffs from all enemies, then attacks the enemies. The buff removal cannot be resisted. Damage increases by 10% for each buff removed. An Alliance mount for sure. Doesn't he look beautiful? I love it. Now here's passives. The Griffin has 3 passives. First is Divine Strike. Attacks an enemy whenever their HP drops below 50%, and this attack places a 100% heal reduction. Number 2 is called Celestial Bond. It's a passive. Adds 1 Sky Bond buff to Grythion at the start of each turn. Also adds 1 Sky Bond buff to Grythion whenever an enemy's HP drops below 50%. Each Sky Bond buff increases Grythion's attack by 5%, crit rate by 3%, crit damage by 5%, and speed by 2.5%. Ignores shield, block damage, and unkillable. When Grythion has 10 or more Sky Bond buffs, can stack up to 20. Now what I don't see here is what Sky Bond is, unless that goes along with something else we're going to talk about in a minute. Fair Wind is the last passive, is whenever the turn meter is decreased, the turn meters of all enemies are decreased by the same amount. Places a stun for 1 turn on enemies with fully depleted turn meters. Whenever an enemy's turn meter is filled, the turn meter will be filled the same amount. Turn meter increases are tracked and counted individually for each enemy. Yeah, this boss, you guys, pretty much what Ian just said is this boss is going to be hardcore. So if you try to decrease his turn meter, you're also decreasing your turn meter. If you try to boost your turn meter, you're also boosting his turn meter above everything else that's here. Like, this seems crazy. I don't know what you guys think, but definitely a very, very stacked boss, and hardcore is probably one of the best words I think I've seen. So we need a block buffs champ. We need champ with block buffs. But, so there's a couple things here though too, right? Is that it looks like he prevents a lot of that too. Removes all buffs from enemies, and buff removal cannot be resisted. So no matter what you do, he's gonna take the buffs, right? 100% chance of placing a fear. So this guy again seems like he's gonna be hardcore. The dragon's gonna be hard too, we'll take a look. Just use a Man-Eater clan boss team. Well, he's gonna take your unkillables, and here's the thing. Talk about the Man-Eater clan boss team is he ignores shield, block damage, and unkillable. When Grythion has 10 or more Skybond buffs, which is here. And adds 1 buff at the start of each turn. So I guess what'll happen is, so here's the thing, right? So 10 or more buffs allows him to do unkillable, block damage, and shield. He gets a buff at the start of each turn. And also whenever an enemy's HP drops below 50%. You know, so it'll be interesting. Yep, Skybonds cannot be blocked or removed. So this is the thing, guys. You can't block it, you can't remove it. So we're gonna have to see, but here's the new boss, the first one, Grythion. So let's move on to the next one. Oh, first. Okay, so moving on. Fighting Grythion will require micromanagement, timing both buffs and debuffs very carefully, and keeping an eye on Skybond stacks he gains over the course of the battle. Whether you trust speed or toughness to see the team through is up to you, and as a reward, you get Guardian set pieces. So the Guardian sets of 4-piece sets. The wearer absorbs 10% of all damage dealt to ally champs, and heals by 10% of the wearer's max HP each time. It's important to remember that Guardian artifacts will not affect damage inflicted by poison or HP burn or any ally skill that causes damage to the caster. So this is going to be a new set that should be craftable in the forge. All right, next boss. Again, I love these character models, guys. Aren't they great? They did such a nice job. Next one is Iragoth, the Eternal Dragon. All right, another boss coming to the Doom Tower. So here's the kit. Spike Storm attacks all enemies and places a block cooldown skills. Spirit Rush attacks all enemies. Inflicts bonus damage for every turn remaining on all enemy skills cooldowns, plus 20% damage for each turn on cooldown, and places a fear debuff on enemies with no skills on cooldown. Soul Burst attacks all enemies, puts all enemy skills on cooldown, and fills the turn meter by 5% for every turn remaining on all enemy skill cooldowns. Compare Souls. Now we do have 2 new minions that are coming to Doom Tower as well, and here is where they get involved. Summon 3 minions at the start of each turn. 1 Eternal Priest and 2 Eternal Guards. Iragoth can have a maximum of 3 minions in battle at any time. It places an Eternal Rage buff on Iragoth for 2 turns if only 1 Eternal Priest is summoned or no minions are summoned by this skill. The buff, again, cannot be removed or blocked, so keep this in mind, guys. These bosses have buffs that cannot be removed or blocked. The Eternal Rage buff increases speed and causes the boss to ignore unkillable block damage and shield and ignore 50% of target's defense. Okay, that's a passive. Please tell me this is an April Fool's. It is not. They're Doom Tower bosses coming to Doom Tower. Next, Consume Soul. At the start of each turn, sacrifices an Eternal Priest, resets the cooldowns of Iragoth's skills, and grants an extra turn. If there's no Eternal Priest in the team, sacrifices an Eternal Guard and heals by 15% of max HP. The skill will be on a 4-turn cooldown at the start of the battle. It will activate and go on cooldown every 5 turns, even if there's no Eternal Priests or Guards on the team. Again, yeah, these new bosses seem pretty hardcore, guys. Otherworldly is another passive. Immune to stun, freeze, sleep, provoke, block, cooldown, fear, true fear, decreased speed, poison, heal reduction. Also immune to HP exchanging, HP balancing, and turn meter reductions. So if you guys are like, oh my god, this is too difficult, well, that's because there are those that have been complaining that Doom Tower's too easy. So there you go. So there you go. So this one, he reminds me of kind of like a Bone Dragon. So now that we looked at his kit, let's take a look at the Eternal Priest and the Eternal Guards. All right, we just talked about Iragoth. So now we have the Eternal Priest And we have the Eternal Guard. And here's what they look like. Again, as always, artwork is spot on. So Eternal Priest has Bolt Strike, which attacks an enemy and places a block cooldown skill for 2 turns. And Unbound Souls resets the cooldown of all enemies' skills when this champion is killed by an enemy. So resets the cooldowns, okay? And then the next one is Eternal Guard, which is the one here on the right. Eternal Guard attacks all enemies, has a 60% decreased defense, also places a provoke on enemies under block cooldown, and decreases damage taken by allies from AoE attack by 75%. So now both of these, the Eternal Priest and the Eternal Guard, are going to be part of the kit for Iragoth, the dragon we just looked at. So it's gonna kind of be the 3 of them. So again, yeah, new bosses, they seem very, very difficult. Doom Tower, again, is not meant to be beginner content. It's meant to be endgame content when people are bored and have nothing else to do in the game and they need something hard. So here is something hard. So these are them. Now what they say from here. As you can see, Iragoth thrives on messing with your team's active skills and taking advantage of that. To make matters worse, he has 3 adds to consider at all times. If you fail to kill them before Iragoth uses his Conjure Soul or Consume Skull, you're going to be in deep trouble. On the bright side, Iragoth is not immune to cooldown increase skills, so you can use that to your advantage. And if you manage to kill the priest at the right moment, you'll get your entire team's skills taken off cooldown. All right? And if you're able to beat Iragoth, we get the Bloodthirst set. So another new set. This 4-piece set, crit rate plus 12% and heals by 30% of damage dealt. Much like the Lifesteal set, the Bloodthirst set does not affect damage inflicted by champion poison or HP, okay? So that's the news for the 2 new bosses, 2 new gear sets, and 2 adds, all right? They also said there's gonna be improvements to clan. They have a quality of life improvement to clan search and application process. Filtering languages is gonna be added to the clan search. Clan leader will be able to set a clear player power requirements. Suggested clans will be displayed based on the player's power. Now that's nice. Clan leader can do clan promotions. Players will be able to send application to other clans, even if they're part of a clan at the time. So it looks like, again, just some ways to make things a little easier. And then miscellaneous, they said Doom Tower rankings the best time will now display the number of turns it took the player to beat the floor instead of the amount of time. Battle result tab display the number of turns taken. And they're talking about Nether Spider. Bloodthirst looks like a nice one. So which of the 2 sets do you like? So what do you guys think? You know, we chatted about these new bosses, right? We looked at Grythion, and we also looked at Iragoth. What do you guys think of these new bosses? I would love to know what you guys think. Definitely leave me some comments, leave me some feedback. Are you excited for it? Are you ready? Are you not ready? Are you not prepared? Do you think you're gonna continue doing Doom Tower? What do you guys think?